Hello, everybody. Welcome to PuckTime. I'm Alex B. Smith. I am sitting in for the Prez today. We got Carmine Bianco here over from WagerTalk.com. We've got Andrew McInnis here from SportsMemo.com. You can find my plays as well at SportsMemo.com. Guys, how's everyone doing? How's the weekend going? Carm, we'll start with you. How was your weekend?
Good, man. I spent 4 days with the wife. I took her to NYC, stayed in Manhattan, did the show with Gabe Morrissey
Nice.
on Friday. We talked. He threw me for a loop. Actually, we're going to talk NHL and some soccer, and we went NHL NBA. So
Wow.
some NBA, but it was all good. I gave out two NBA games. They both turned out winners. Gave out uh, Golden State in Game 7, which I figured they were going to blow out the Clippers. And I just thought 5.5 points was too much uh, to give the Spurs in Game 7 there. So both of them seem to have worked out. So I didn't totally embarrass myself, which is good.
Nice. I hate when that happens. I did a radio show once, and a couple of guys, this is in Nebraska, and they asked me about NASCAR, and I'm like, I've never sat and watched a whole NASCAR race in my entire life. I'm like, I could probably name like maybe three drivers tops, but thankfully somebody had actually emailed me some information, so I was able to read that off, and I'm like, yeah, a friend of mine said bet on, I think it was what's his name, Kane or somebody, I don't know, Casey Kane or one of those guys. But Andrew, how was your weekend, man?
It was good. It was good. Like you said, the seasons are changing. It's just nice. Everyone has that stereotype about Canada, how cold it is here, especially in the East Coast, and finally starting to see some blue skies. I mean, everyone knows the old-fashioned saying, April showers, May flowers. I mean, we've certainly had the showers here. So looking outside right now and seeing the blue sky, it's been nice. I was out in the country 2 nights ago, just enjoying it, had a campfire. So nice to bring those vibes, and it's also nice to enjoy some hockey every night, guys. Been some great games. Some low-scoring games in one series, that's for sure, though, too. But doing good, though, Alex. How are you?
Doing all right, doing all right. Yeah, the weather's goofy here because we had a snowstorm a few days ago, and now it's like 50 degrees, and then it's gonna be up in the 70s. And I got a friend in Denver. She says, "Oh yeah, we got 20 inches of snow, half of it melted, and then it's gonna be 70 degrees the next day." So this whole like the weather right now is just absolutely even more bizarre than usual. But like I said, it comes and it goes, and it'll be getting warmer than it will be cooler. So, and like I said, the hockey's been fantastic. And yeah, talking about the low scoring series, obviously you're referencing Carolina and the Islanders. And one thing that's going to be really weird now moving forward is that Peter Mrazek is day to day. So the dream goalie matchup that we had between Leonard and Mrazek, the what seemed to be a chess match now might be a little different with McElhinney in. But McElhinney looked sharp, and he got the win on his record because Carolina came back in that third period yesterday. But I don't know how it's going to change the series. I actually think the Islanders might be live for a game in Game 3 or Game 4 now in that spot.
I think they are. You know what I mean? Like we won't know about Mrazek, but they're saying that they might be that the Canes might be recalling Alex. I can't even pronounce that.
I think it's
Nedeljkovic from Charlotte.
Nedeljkovic. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course,
McElhinney is
it's all
good,
the
though.
names I can't pronounce, right? Like surgery to Saku Nenu Linen or whatever. I can't pronounce
Yeah.
that. Yeah. The only one I can get is Trevor Van
Reeves.
Riemsdyk, right?
Even that's a tough one. So.
Yeah, it looks like he's out indefinitely. He's having an MRI today.
Yeah.
So it's a few injuries there. And listen, anytime I always say with any team, even with when you have a roster that has a lot of depth, when you lose some guys from top line, a second line, a third line, obviously your goalie,
Yeah.
it changes the balance of the team, right? So it could be a very good spot for the Islanders. Islanders have to win. Let's put it that way. So, well, I guess we'll look at that later.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, let's get into one thing I would definitely want to talk about, and we won't harbor on it too long. They've been announcing the award finalists every single day during the last week or so. They've announced there was some kind of an uproar with the Calder Trophy announcement. People were saying that Heiskanen for the Dallas Stars should have been one of the three finalists. He wasn't. Jordan Bennington was, who I think that was my pick to win the Calder Trophy, and hopefully be looking for some odds to bet on these things. But we had the Hart Trophy finalists announced yesterday, and it was Nikita Kucherov, naturally, who had 128 points for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He did get suspended and missed a game in the playoffs, which eventually probably helped add to the mess that was their sweep, losing to Columbus. You had Sidney Crosby, who had another stellar season. Pulled his team from the dead in the second half to make the playoffs, only to get swept out of the playoffs. And then you have Connor McDavid, who played for the Edmonton Oilers, a team that was eliminated from the playoffs around Christmas time or New Year's. Had a decent showing, obviously a 100-point season, but he was pretty much the only guy that did anything on the team, but they were nowhere near contention at all. And then you have a player who got over 100 points, had a 20-game point streak during a run in which the team won multiple games to get back into a wild card race. And this man's name was completely forgotten. That man, of course, being number 88 himself, Patrick Kane. I don't know about you guys, but I believe he definitely got screwed as far as not being a finalist. Would he win over Kucherov? Probably not. To be honest, 128 points, and I think that's a Russian player record as well. He had a tremendous season. Obviously, he was definitely one of the best players in the league throughout the entire year, not just a stretch of it. But Patrick Kane should have been voted in as a finalist over Connor McDavid. I want to know your guys' thoughts.
I'll send it over to Andrew first there.
Well, you know what? I always say, Alex, I'm not really usually biased as far as Sidney Crosby goes. I would say I wouldn't replace, if you're going to put Kane in there, I wouldn't put him over McDavid. I'd say over Crosby, because really, to me, when I'm talking NHL and NBA, whether it's most sports, MVP to me, most valuable player of a team, is not only just the best player in the league, but it's also the best player that's really made their team better. And it's like you said about Crosby, he elevated the team for sure and gave them that chance at the end. But I think of this Edmonton Oilers team, where would they be without the Oilers? Without McDavid,
right.
Without McDavid, and where would Tampa's offense be sometimes, even without Kucherov? But night after night after night, and I watched a lot this year, Alex. I watched probably 3 times more Blackhawks games than I've ever watched in past years.
Yeah.
And it's funny because working with you every day, I know how much of a fan you are, especially with Kane, and he was outstanding. Whenever they needed a big goal, whether it was overtime, dying minutes of a game, he was there to make that play, whether it's getting the assist or a top shelf goal, whatever it was. Guys, I don't know if there's a way we can find this out, but I'm sure eventually there is. But I'd be curious to see where he was, because he must have been that 4 spot, Alex, or something like that, right?
As far as I know, he was the 4th.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. You truly do have to dominate. I do find it funny, though, guys, that all 3 of these players here, didn't either get past the first round, or McDavid, like you said, didn't even make the playoffs. So it's always interesting in that aspect.
Yeah, I think I saw something on the NHL channel at one point where 8 or 9 of the top 10 scorers during the regular season were no longer in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Obviously McDavid's going to, and we'd have to see like ice time, but McDavid's always on the ice. He's on the first unit for the power play. He's on the second unit at times for the power play, and they're double shifting him. He's out there a lot. I'm not sure if that's the same with, and Edmonton was in a chase mode, the second half of the season on, so he's getting a lot of ice time. Obviously, he's getting points. Sid was not in that situation, but I always say, like, kind of, with players, they're stars, but you're also a product of who they put around you. When you're on, like Kucherov, when you're on a stacked team, you're going to get points. You're still a star amongst those players. But I think back to the days of like Paul Kariya. I used to love Paul Kariya, but he was stuck out in Anaheim, and I don't think he had the quality. You take him and you drop him somewhere else on a team that had 2 or 3 solid lines, and the sky would have been the limit with Kariya. So who knows, right? So it's one of those things. I know as a obviously as a Hawks fan, you sort of hate what happens. We see it all the time. It's just how it is. It's not a bias, but you get to see the player a lot more than anyone else does, and you know the talent that he has. So when he does get slighted, you're going to feel the way you feel now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm really not a big awards guy. I'm not a big follower, but I just thought, even compared to the season that he had where he did win the Hart Trophy. I thought he had a better year this year. He was more important to his team this year because he didn't have those, like I said, those extra pieces. Alex DeBrincat came on, throughout the year and looked good. Taves had one of his best campaigns as a scorer, but like I said, he's double shifted more than probably any player in the league. I mean, going back to the days when Quenneville was changing lines around, he was double shifted on every power play and those top lines, especially the last 5 minutes of a game. They're down by one, down by two. He's on the ice for a good chunk of it. So, like I said, it is what it is, and move on. Like I said, I definitely want to be looking. Hopefully we'll be talking about it more when Perez comes back and stuff because I want to look to bet some of these finalist odds once they come up over the next week or so. But
Yeah, I'll find the odds for you.
Okay.
As well.
Awesome.
I think it's important to mention like what Carm said about who you're really surrounded with on your team because ultimately sometimes that could benefit you or not benefit you. And with a guy like Connor McDavid, I'm not taking away from how great he is. He's one of the best, if not the best. But when you have pretty much nobody else on your team but Draisaitl that does anything, it's very easy to stick out and very easy to stand out. But if you're on a team surrounded by a lot of talent, it can be a little bit harder. So I find that very interesting as far as these trophies go because it's really easy to kind of float along and have a casual 30-goal season if you've got guys around you doing the exact same thing. Just kind of a little point there. And one other thing too, not to be a Tampa Bay hater, guys, but I mean if Kucherov goes ahead and wins that, seeing his speech or whatever he says when he walks up there, it's gonna be pretty embarrassing the way they got knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be interesting to see what any of the Tampa Bay award winners, or even Pittsburgh for that matter, too. I guess Pittsburgh not as embarrassing, but still, just to win an award of individual achievement when your team completely flopped, it's gotta feel pretty bad. So
like John Cooper, if he wins Coach of the Year, that's laughable at this point.
Yeah, it is. I can't imagine he would win that. No. Was he a finalist for that? Because I know if Berube's a finalist, he's got to win it hands down. But anyway, we got one game tonight, and it involves Craig Berube's hockey club, the St. Louis Blues. They are traveling to Dallas to take on the Stars. Stars a minus 115, 120 favorite. The total has not dropped down to 4.5. It is still at 5 even, but shaded to the under slightly. This is going to just be an interesting game. I got a 5% play on it that you can grab as part of $9 Monday over at sportsmemo.com. But I kind of want to talk about the total because it just seems weird that these games are like, I mean, they just look like well over games. We saw it in the last game where we saw 3-1, 3 goals in 72 seconds. And I just thought for sure, all right, we're going to finally see a 5.5. In this game 3, and now they're still staying pat with 5. I think there's great value now on the first period and full game overs here. I think we're going to see more of that same pace of play here, even with the scene changing over to Dallas. And also, too, the trend of a team in a series, their first home game of the series, scoring first. I think it was 15-1 in the first round. I haven't seen where it's been now in the second round. But that's something I would be looking at too. Looking at Dallas to score first, that was a great trend that a couple people on Twitter picked out and tweeted about over the course of round 1. What do you guys think? Carm, let's start with you.
Yeah, well, absolutely, it's going to be rocking there tonight. Listen, they're playing really well, Dallas. This is a great series. I've said from the start, I've been a Blues fan. I have a future on the Blues, but this is a great series. Blues have been playing playoff hockey since January 1st. Right. But yeah, listen, 5. I expected to see a 4.5 at some point in this series, and we haven't. And you would have thought if you were sitting on the over in the last game after that first period, you would have thought you're pretty much home and cool. It was 2-1 at the end of the first, or was it 3-1?
3-1.
3-1. I think it was. It's one of those things. I still kind of lean to the game unders on pretty much every single round here, other than the Colorado and San Jose one. I've been on the over twice, I think twice in that series, and they both hit. A little lucky last night, but you take the good with the bad type of thing. But the Blues have to get back into the series, and listen, they're tied at 1, but I think tonight's such a big game for both teams. You get that little stranglehold on this series before that game 4. If Dallas wins tonight, the Blues absolutely have to win game 4, or they're toast. They're not. I don't think I don't think they can come back and win 3 straight. And conversely, it's the same way around. If the Blues win tonight, it's a must win for the Stars. They can't go back down 3-1 back to St. Louis and win there. I know I'm sort of sitting on the fence here with this game. I think if someone's asking me for a free play on this game, it's definitely, for me, it's the total and the under.
Andrew, what do you think?
No, I'd have to agree. I mean, we're seeing a boatload of shots come in last game, but I still don't think a lot of them were quality shots. Again, coming to some of those goals that we saw in that game weren't really the strongest type of goals. I mean, every series needs an offensive explosion game, and that was it, and it only had 6 goals. That's the way I see it. When you see a series having an offensive explosion, you expect, maybe like a 5-4 type game, but that's not the case with that one. It was, it was still just 4-2. I look at this and we head back, we change venues here. I think Bishop comes out again, has a great performance, hold things down. It's just interesting, guys, because we're seeing it in the New York series as well. I remember back during the regular season, sometimes these fives as totals would kind of throw me off a little bit, scare me off sometimes even. But now you got to put it in perspective of, these two teams have both even said it to the media, we're the same type of team. We're the same tightly defensive type team. We clog the neutral zone up. We play very defensive. I don't think either of these teams wants to be in a goal-for-goal situation.
No.
But however, as the side goes, guys, coming into this series, entering it, and entering tonight even, I really had a feeling this was going to be a zigzag type series. And what we saw out of Dallas in Game 2, I mean, that first period, they couldn't have asked for a better first period than that. Great start from them. And, I from the get-go, guys, in the series, I had a zigzag theory type mindset coming in, but I like the way Dallas Stars played in that Game 2. I'm going to grab them here in this third game and get them to keep rolling here. I like the way that they played throughout. They've got guys stepping up that, you wouldn't really expect, but you also got your top guys playing some great hockey as well, creating scoring chances consistently. So for me, the two leans would be the under and the Dallas Stars that get it going. Like I said before, I'm not sure if I've clarified this, and I might have bumbled my words my last episode, but if it's an over game, I really starting to think that it benefits Dallas. I used to think it would benefit St. Louis, but it just seems like there's more guys that can get it going. People talk about the depth of the St. Louis Blues. They have depth of skill, depth of veteran guys, but they don't really have depth of scoring. I think that if it comes down to it, and you're in a line-for-line situation, I'm taking the Dallas Stars.
Okay, all right. You're watching PuckTime. I'm Alex B. Smith. That's Andrew McInnis. Also, Carmine Bianco. Carmine, you going to say something?
Yeah, for people who are watching this show, I think what they saw, what the point I think I want to put across is, especially on a night like tonight where there's like one game, but like you look at every series, the great thing about the second round of the playoffs is it's not like the first round of the playoffs. And by that I mean there are no plus or minus 220 teams. Like literally you look at the games down the line, I'm looking at the board and they're like minus 115 plus 105, and it's pretty much that same thing straight through with every single game, which tells you they're completely competitive games, and you can make a case for either team. So you watch this show, you try and pick up on some tidbits that what we're talking about and stuff, but at the end of the day, when you make your decision, as long as you feel good with it, just go with it, because at the end of the day, when they drop that puck tonight, you got two teams that both teams can win that game. Unlike, let's say, a series where one team is a decided favorite, and you figure they're going to blow them out, and you're like, I don't want to take a shot on the dog.
Right.
Here you're taking the dog. You're really not getting much. You're getting plus 103, plus 104 type of thing. Absolutely competitive games. This second round is fantastic. I'm loving it. So.
Yeah, you make a good point. Yeah, if there's value enough to where you can trust your own feeling and instinct and bet, and not have to worry about obviously still shop around, but you don't have to worry about the price knocking you off of a side because everything has been lined so competitively. So I agree. And another thing too, with as far as the total goes, I did this yesterday with Carolina and the Islanders. I had the first period over 1.5. It was plus 165 at one of my books, and then I went second period under plus 105. So obviously didn't cash in the first, but cashed in the second, and got back a tiny bit of profit. That's something I might want to look at doing here. Maybe split, a unit between the two plays, because we either will see, even if we see a 3-1 game like we did the other game, we saw everything kind of slow down in that second period, and that's been a trend with some of these playoff games that have gone over in the first period. We've seen a
Yeah.
completely slow second period teams, like I said, teams that are defensive minded, getting back to their core mantra of slowing things down. So that's something I would definitely look at possibly doing tonight. And Andrew, one more thing.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of different ways to kind of look at games, and Carm is saying now there's so many tight odds. It's not like there's massive favorites. One thing I've been looking at quite a bit, because looking at this series here, obviously this bet didn't cash last game, so it would have been good to be on the other side. But the first period, kind of little prop bets here, I've been taking quite a few. Either teams to score first or score in the first 10 minutes, yes or no. And tonight I'm looking at no. At minus 105. It's actually shaded to the yes, and I truly do think, after what we saw last game in period one, we come back in this game, change of venue, we're back in Dallas, we see a strict defensive type game, and at minus 105, it's kind of shocking that we're getting that, because if you think about it, the minus 1.5, or the under on the 1.5 goals in the first period is minus 170 at most places.
Right.
So if you like that under 1.5 first period, then there's chances are you probably have a decent, you probably like this as well at the no goal in the first 10 minutes as well at minus 105. So you're going from minus 170 at no 2 goals in the first period to minus 105 at just no goals at all in the first 10. So that's one I've been keeping my eye on.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because you can bet that no prop at the first 10 minutes and still have a first period over bet, because we've seen some of these overs cash with 3-4 minutes left in the period. Team takes a penalty late, and there's a equalizer or a go ahead goal to make it 2-0 in the first. So that's a good point. It's something, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to attack these numbers now, and that's something that definitely would be circled. What are you gonna say, Carm?
Yeah, Andrew had to bring back a bad memory for me, but in a different sport. All year, I'm switching to soccer for a second. In the EPL, I'm always looking at props, and I never bet any. And then I think it was last weekend or whatever, they had I was certain that this game was going to finish like either like 0-0 or whatever. So I was going to bet no goals. You can bet no goals first 10 minutes, no goals second 20 minutes, so on and so forth,
Right.
and stuff. So I bet the Southampton game, no goals, first 10 minutes, and guy from Southampton scores what is now the quickest goal ever in EPL history, 10 seconds into the game.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness.
So I'm a sucker. I haven't put in a one of these prop bets, and then the first time I do it, they set a record for the quickest goal ever to start an EPL game, but whatever.
So did he just kick it from midfield and go in? Like, how do you score in 10 seconds?
I think a player tried to play to one of his other guys. The guy ran through and just in on the goalie, punted it over his head type of thing, just flicked it over his head. It's in the net 10 seconds later from opening kickoff.
Well, you guys see what happened yesterday? I mean, Carm, you referred to it, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I tweeted out the third period. I said I'm taking a shot with the over 5.5 plus 170, and I had a small little personal action as well on the over 6, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, Carm, you had a play on that. You said, Alex, I'm not sure about yourself, but man, what a way to finish that. It's like you said, Alex. Sometimes you can go a whole first 10 without nothing happening, and then teams, especially in the third period, just really pick it up.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that the third period over, we talked about it for elimination games, but honestly, looking back and with the notes, that's actually just been a good bet throughout the postseason. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. And the books, kind of like the first period over in the beginning of the year, they aren't adjusting to it as quickly. So, and like I said, and because of how few games and how few teams, they aren't going to adjust things as quickly. We're not going to see massive shifts. If this game sails over and goes 3-1 again in the first period, we're not going to see them go Dallas, St. Louis over 1.5 minus 140 all of a sudden, because Dallas was the king of first period unders all year, and the books got to roll with that. So we're getting some good advantages in that spot. So,
all right, boys.
Yeah, that's an episode. Yeah, Carm's got to run and go see Endgame. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to see it. Andrew, are you going to see it?
I think I'm going actually with my brother tomorrow night. So I'm not really the biggest fan of that kind of stuff, but I always give it a chance, and I find that stuff interesting. My people hate on me. I don't like Lord of the Rings. I don't watch Game of Thrones. I was never one of those kids growing up to watch Harry Potter. I'm not guessing. Easy to say. I'm not very creative, guys.
This is why we're friends, Andrew. I don't like any of the things you
Yeah.
just mentioned either.
I look at it this way: the theater is like 15 minutes away. I've got a 2 o'clock show. It's like 1:25 now,
Yeah.
and they serve alcohol, so I'm
Oh, well
good.
then, hey, there you go. That
Oh, there you
that
go.
makes it even smoother. So, all
Enjoy.
right, guys. All right, yeah. So catch us, Wager Talk TV. Get Carm's plays over at WagerTalk.com. Get mine and Andrew's plays over at SportsMemo.com. It's $9 Monday at both websites, so you're gonna get some tremendous value and some great plays at a low price. So Prez will be back tomorrow. I have no idea which one of us. I guess I'll be on with him. One of you guys will be on. We'll figure that out. So see everybody later. Take it easy, y'all.
Good luck,
See ya.
guys.